Bonjour tout le monde. My name is Romain, and as you have noticed from my accent, I'm French. Today I wanted to talk to you about translating the Svelte documentation to French or any other language. You might think that it's quite useless to translate the documentation to another language, since it already exists in English and developers should learn English anyway. And to some extent, I agree with you. But at the same time, when you're a beginner, it's hard enough as it is to read through documentation of some technology you don't fully master. But it's twice as hard if you have to do it in another language. So I wanted to make the effort of translating the docs to help beginners, French or French-speaking beginners, to get their hands as fast as possible on this great tool that is Svelte. So let's take a tour into the docs now. So as you can see here, we are on sveltefr.dev and we have the docs in French. This is the home page, but we also have like the whole documentation here. Any page on this documentation is translated. We also have this glossary section that I'm going to talk about later here. And of course, we translated the tutorial and the kit docs, which is just fresh out of the oven. How did we do this? Well, of course, we had to start with forking the official repo. And just before we go into the details, I just wanted to mention that on this repo here, Svelte Society FR Svelte, you can find this file that also is referenced here, read more here, translating, which is basically what I'm going to present, but in written. Okay, now we're going to go into the actual translations. So this is done in several folders. The main folder obviously is the documentation folder here, which is divided in 4 sections. We did not translate everything here. Some things were not as relevant. For instance, the blog section, we did not translate anything here because frankly it was too much work and we didn't feel like it was very relevant, but you might feel different about it. The other folder we did not translate is tutorial here. This tutorial is the legacy tutorial. It's a little bit different from the one that you can find in the repo learn.svelte.dev. This is only displayed to people with older browsers, and it would have been relevant to translate it, but it's so much work. We preferred to just focus on the most recent stuff. What we did translate, on the other hand, is the docs here. The documentation/docs folder is where you're going to spend most of your time. This is divided in chapters, and every chapter has sections. Every section is a file with a lot of text to translate. We did not translate the folder or file names here, which we could have. These are only useful for the URLs here. For instance, here, this is just the English URL, but the name here is in French. We did not feel like it was important, but it might be for SEO purposes. Yeah. So we did not translate any folder or file names in the docs folder, but we did translate the subheadings, like this one. This might break the build of the site, since some other files might reference a link to this section, and if you do change the subheading, it will change the link. So when you're building the site, you might encounter some errors due to missing links, and you just have to find where the missing links are located and just update according to your translation. And finally, we also translated the example section, which is a collection of examples related to Svelte. And this was quite easy. We just needed to translate some text to make it more consistent with the actual French documentation. This is not the most important, but it felt also interesting to do it. So yeah, this is pretty much it for this folder. Just know that this will take you a long time to translate. About, I don't know, 2 or 3 months maybe it took for me. So yeah, this is where you're going to spend the most of your time. Once you're done with this, you are going to be left with some elements that are not translated. For instance, this part here, which is edit this page on GitHub, or this part here on this page, or even here the search. All these elements are not in the MD files since they're UI elements. These UI elements you can find under sites, svelte.dev, src, lib, and routes. This is where we're going to find them. For instance, we can go here, layout.svelte, and this holds, for instance, a navigation element with a slot and something that you can translate here. So there are going to be a lot of elements that you're going to have to find to translate them, but we have listed here some files that contains text that you might want to translate. This might not be exhaustive, but this is a good way to start. So you translated UI elements, you translated the docs, obviously, but you are still missing some stuff. You might not know this, but in the docs there are some sections. For instance, in the TypeScript section, here types, you have some documentation and some stuff here, for instance, that you want to translate as well. These are not present in the Markdown files. You are going to find these in other files like interfaces.d.ts, public.d.ts that are all located in the packages Svelte, src, blah, blah, blah. For instance, let's take runtime action, public.d.ts. Yeah, here, for instance, there are comments in .d.ts files, so you're going to have to translate them as well, so if you want to have like this kind of text translated. So once you did that, when you translated the UI elements, you translated the docs, you translated the types, you're pretty much done. We still added something. I was talking about this earlier. We added the glossary. The glossary might not be relevant for every language, but we felt it was necessary. The problem is there are some words in French that we use in English. These are called anglicisms. Like, for instance, we use callback when we speak French, because the actual word that we could use in French, which is fonction de rappel, we never use. Don't ask me why, I don't know. This is just a habit. So these words we did not want to translate because it would be too different from the actual usage of the language. So we wanted to keep them as is in the documentation. The problem still is that some people, especially beginners, would not understand such words. Like for me, when I started, callback was a mystery. I didn't know what it was. So we wanted to provide some way for these people to know what we're talking about, even if we're leaving the words in English. So this is the glossary, and we added some words there, like for general development purposes, or web, or JavaScript even, Svelte. Some sections with words in it, for instance, the callback section here describes roughly what a callback is, and this is enough just to get more or less what this is about. So these words, you're going to find links to these words in other sections. For instance, in the introduction, you can find here a link to Falsy, or here a link to framework. We try to have a style which is not too disturbing when reading here. And if you click the link here, you get to the explanation of what Falsy is. This glossary section might not be relevant in every language, but we felt in French it was necessary. So once you're there, it's pretty much the end of it. The only thing you need to do is deploy, which is fairly easy since this is deployed with Vercel, and SvelteKit integrates very well with Vercel. The only thing you might need to do is to set up some environment variables. For those who don't know, the Svelte site includes a REPL, and this REPL uses a Supabase instance. So you are going to need a Supabase instance of your own, and provide with these environment variables if you want to deploy correctly. So I'm not going to dig into the details here. You have some instructions provided with this file. And once you did that, you should be able to deploy, provided that you did not break any links with your translation. And if you did, well, you just need to fix these links. And once you're there, all you need to do now is choose a domain name, which is not so easy, and deploy. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I did not go through every detail, but if you want, you have the full explanation here with all the steps we took to make this translation possible. And yeah, I really hope this will be useful to some of you. And if you have any question, don't hesitate to ping me. Thank you very much again, and enjoy the rest of your day.